Hello, Sagittarius. There are families that look perfect on the outside, but inside they are the very places that make a Sagittarius like you ask yourself each night, why is the place once called home? The very place where you learn to shrink yourself. This is not a video for everyone. This is a sacred calling sent through the light of the stars, meant for a Sagittarius who has endured enough pain within their own home. And God is preparing to lead you out, not so you can escape, but so you can be healed. In this video, you'll come to understand why the cracks you're facing now are a sacred part of your soul's divine map, why you, a Sagittarius, have been chosen to leave before anyone else wakes up, and what is truly waiting for you on the other side of the journey called being chosen. If this video is speaking directly to your heart, leave a comment that says, "I am ready to step out of the shadows because the truth is calling my name." Because sometimes, writing it out is the soul's first way of saying yes to the mission God chose you for. Like this video, share it, because you might just be the one who awakens another weary Sagittarius, quietly fading inside their own home. I remember once, during a chart reading for a woman in her 40s, she was a pure Sagittarius, born on the day the sun aligned with Jupiter, one of the most powerful placements for spiritual guidance. She smiled softly, but her eyes were always red. Her gaze drifted, as if she'd been searching her whole life for permission to live as she truly is, and never found it. She said, "I don't know why I feel guilty for wanting to leave my family, but I know if I stay, I'll die, slowly, on the inside." And as I looked at her natal chart, I knew she wasn't wrong. It was time. Do you know what's most extraordinary about Sagittarius? Out of all 12 signs in the zodiac, none embrace painful truths quite like you, even when those truths hurt. Even when the truth is, your family is no longer a place where your soul can thrive. Jupiter, your ruling planet, is the planet of expansion, of belief, of new horizons. But what few people understand is this: Jupiter is also the planet of departure. It guides us away from old limitations toward a sacred, uncharted place. And the very first limit you may need to release could be the family structure you were raised in. Not every child born into a family is meant to inherit its light. Some are born to break the chain of darkness, so a new light can begin. Are you that person, Sagittarius? Let me tell you a story of my own. I once witnessed a man, a Sagittarius, be called ungrateful simply because he chose a life of his own instead of staying behind to shoulder his family's burdens. But 5 years later, those same people who once condemned him were the first to call when their own children began to fall into spiritual crisis. They realized the only one who knew how to lead others out was the one who had dared to leave. Sometimes you don't walk away to betray anyone. You walk away to preserve the light for everyone, even those who don't yet understand. You are not wrong for being tired. You are not selfish for wanting to leave a place that only silences and shrinks you. You are not ungrateful for feeling the need to break away just to breathe. You're simply living out what your soul already wrote into the map of your destiny. Leave a comment if you've ever felt this way. I've stayed silent for too long. It's time I step out to live in the truth of my own light. Writing it down is a spiritual act. It is the beginning of an entirely new chapter that the universe has been waiting for you to open. Between June and November this year, the axis of Jupiter, Uranus, and Chiron is powerfully activating the 4th and 9th houses in the chart of Sagittarius. This is the axis of home and soul mission. A powerful push from the heavens may make you feel, either I leave what's old or I fall into a nameless kind of depression. And if you felt something like that lately, you're not crazy. You are hearing the true calling, the one sent specifically for you by the divine. Your family may not understand, they may blame you, but God will not. He understands, and He is leading you out so that you won't collapse the way those before you did. Many people spend their entire lives maintaining surface-level peace, only to crumble quietly behind closed doors. But you, Sagittarius, you were born with legs not to stand still, but to step beyond the generational limits. Because if you don't step out, who will ever know that there was another way, a way built on truth and light? Are you living as an inheritor, or are you the one chosen to rebuild? Leave a comment if you feel this message in your bones. I am the one chosen to end the repetition of generational pain. You're not writing it for me. You're writing it for your own soul. As a vow, you finally have the courage to speak. And you know what happens when a Sagittarius finally steps out of old ground? The entire natal chart begins to shift. Because when you choose true freedom, the universe begins to renew everything around you. Your relationships, your finances, your purpose in life. All of it is reborn from the one brave decision you make: to walk in the light. If what I just said stirred something in you, made you feel a subtle ache, a quiet truth you've never dared speak aloud, then leave a sign, a comment, a share. Not for me, but because your soul has just been recognized. But do you know what makes this journey truly frightening? It's not the leaving. It's the moment you step into loneliness, a space where no one is there to lean on. So now let me tell you what really happens when a Sagittarius is led by God across the bridge of solitude, and how you can hold on to your faith when everything around you begins to fall apart. Maybe you've never told anyone this, that you've always felt different. From a young age, you asked the questions no one in your family wanted to answer. You looked out the window, dreaming of a world where people didn't have to hide their emotions. And you felt that the arguments at home weren't just words. They were soul wounds, repeating from generation to generation. And you ask yourself, why am I even here? Why do I see this pain so clearly, while everyone else seems used to it? Maybe no one ever told you. But those who carry Sagittarius energy, they don't come here to blend in. They come to stir. They come to awaken, not with shouting, but with quiet, unwavering departure. I've seen many Sagittarians grow up in homes that were harsh. Places where truth was twisted into obligation. Where love came with conditions. Where you were only loved if you resembled them. But you are not like them, because you were made to lead, not to repeat. There's something rare happening in the sky this year. Chiron, the asteroid that symbolizes the wound that needs spiritual healing, is now transiting Sagittarius. That is no coincidence. This is the moment God is whispering to you. Step out, not to escape, but to free an entire lineage, bound by things that no longer hold truth. Sometimes, real love is not in staying. Real love is having the courage to leave. When staying only perpetuates pain, you are not a traitor. You are simply the first one brave enough to ask, is this truly right? And if you're standing in that moment right now, the moment when your soul knows it's time to say, enough, then know this: you are not alone. There are thousands of Sagittarians across the world walking through this same threshold, quietly packing up their light, ready to carry it to a place that deserves it. There's a story I'll never forget. A young woman, Sagittarius, once told me, "My mother always said, family is everything. But when I asked for truth, they told me to be quiet. When I asked to be heard, they said I was too sensitive. And when I chose to leave, they called me ungrateful." I looked at her chart and saw it clearly. Her Jupiter was blazing, right in the 9th house. That's the sign of someone chosen to end the cycle of pain. Today, she is a healer. She writes, she teaches meditation, she helps those who once stood where she stood. So if you find yourself at the edge of leaving, please remember, you are not just leaving a family. You are walking away from a karmic chapter that was never yours to carry, and you are entering a higher path, where you no longer live to please others, but to live in truth. Leave a comment under this video if this touched your heart. I was not born to repeat pain, but to heal it. Write it, not just to share, but to seal it, as a spiritual vow between you and the universe. One last thing I want you to hear, not with your ears, but with your heart. True family is where your soul is recognized. And if you've never felt that in the place you grew up, then maybe you were born to redefine what family even means. Not built on fear, not built on hierarchy, but on light, on truth, on mercy. And when you finally do step out, you'll receive something no one could have predicted. Freedom in the mind, descendants raised in honesty, and a new kind of family, not necessarily tied by blood, but by soul. But what happens after you've already left, and the silence starts to settle in? Let me tell you what truly awaits a Sagittarius when they cross the bridge of solitude, and what sacred force comes to comfort them in their darkest night. There is a kind of separation that doesn't come with rage, that doesn't require anyone to be wrong. It simply comes because your soul can no longer survive the noise of the place it once called home. I know that feeling when you step out the door, no one tries to stop you, and yet, inside, it feels like you've just walked away from an entire lifetime. You may not be the first person to cross that bridge, but maybe you are the first in your entire bloodline to walk across it without looking back. I was once called a traitor, not because I hurt anyone, but simply because I chose to live in truth. I chose peace over performance, honesty over applause, and I chose to walk away when my heart knew if I stayed, I would lose myself completely. That's when I understood. Light never disappears. It simply withdraws from where it is no longer honored, to prepare itself to shine again at a higher place. If you're a Sagittarius, this may be the season where you feel the most alone. Saturn, the planet of boundaries, tests, and karmic lessons, is squaring your family axis in the sky right now. And that means what once felt like roots may now be coming undone. Not because you are weak, but because the soil is too dry to nourish the tree your soul has grown to become. A woman in her 50s, a Sagittarius, once came to see me. She had completely cut contact with both her parents and her children. She wept, and I stayed silent. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I saw it, clear as day, in her natal chart. That separation was not failure. It was divine intervention to end a repeating cycle of pain. Some people are called by God to leave their family behind, not because they don't love them, but because they are the only one awake enough to say, the next generation deserves more freedom than this. Loneliness is not proof you're wrong. It's proof you've said no to connections that no longer reflect your light. You may walk that bridge with tears, but once you reach the other side, you'll realize you haven't lost anyone. You've simply returned them to their own path and reclaimed yourself for a higher calling. Have you ever been forced to choose between yourself and your family? If the answer is yes, don't hesitate to write it down in the comments. You don't need to tell the whole story. Just write, I once chose myself. That's not betrayal. That's the moment your soul begins to rewrite the definition of loyalty, not to blood, but to the light within. I understand. The bridge is cold. I know. It's long. And I too once believed I wouldn't be able to go on. But one day, when I looked back, I saw it clearly. I had never walked alone. Because when you walk out in response to God's calling, all of heaven walks with you, silently, unseen. But each quiet step you take was always meant to clear a path for those who come after you. And the deeper you walk into that loneliness, the more clearly you'll begin to hear the sacred voice inside. You'll remember the truth that busy life once made you forget. You are not just a part of your family. You are part of a mission. Not everyone is called to go. Only those whose souls are brave enough and pure enough are led by God across that bridge. If you are on that bridge now, whether you've just stepped on it or you're nearly at the other side, please know you were chosen, and the light at the end is waiting. If you feel misunderstood, isolated, or unseen in your own family, write in the comments, I am walking the bridge God opened for my soul. Because the moment you admit it is the moment the guiding energy begins to move more powerfully within you. But when you finally do cross that bridge, you'll begin to see new things. But not everyone will recognize them right away, because the first signs almost always come in dreams. And now I will tell you why the dreams you've been having are not random. They are signs that a new gate is opening, and your new destiny is closer than ever. There is a strange moment when you stand in the middle of the world and suddenly realize You're no longer angry at anyone, no longer blaming. You simply know that place is no longer home. And even though you've walked through loneliness, through blame, through days where you almost turned back, in the end, there is only one thing left: the yearning to live in the light of your truest self. Right now, if your Sun or Mercury is in Sagittarius, you may be starting to feel a shift within you. No longer trying to maintain connections that only exist in name. No longer forcing a smile around those who dim your light. Because when your soul outgrows the old house, the light begins to search for a new one. And this is when family gets redefined. Not by blood, but by recognition. You are not betraying anyone when you choose yourself. The greatest betrayal is the betrayal of your soul just to please others. And when you dare to step outside that mold, something beautiful begins to happen. You no longer need others to understand you in order to be yourself. She always wished her mom would hug her and say she understood. But one day, she realized her mother might never say those words, and she no longer needed her to keep loving herself. When I read those words, I knew she had become spiritually grown. Because true adults don't keep searching for magic in those unwilling to offer it. They create light within themselves, and from that light, they begin building a true home, a home where they are seen, understood, and loved in freedom. Your new family may not share your blood, but they will share your soul's frequency. People who, when you share your pain, don't call you weak, but look at you and say, "I've been through that too." And in that deep understanding, you realize you are not alone. If you are on a journey to find that sense of belonging, leave a quiet whisper in the comments. I am on the path back to my soul's true home. Write it not for others to see, but for yourself, to signal the universe. I am ready to receive relationships that are healthy, loving, and real. And if you are still walking alone right now, imagine this. Up ahead is a small hill, and on top of it, a house made of light. Not grand, not loud, but there. You won't have to try to be loved. You only have to be present, and that's enough. It took me nearly half a lifetime to realize. A true family is not where I have to apologize for being myself. It's where I'm welcomed, for being exactly that. And when I stopped trying to be a good child, I began to become a radiant soul who could lead my own path. So if you're afraid of losing a blood tie, ask your heart again. Am I truly losing, or am I being set free? And if you feel tears falling as you hear this, know this: that's not pain. That's your soul exhaling, finally being called home. But light is not only the destination, it is also the language of signs. And when you're ready to step into your new home, the universe begins to send signs in your dreams. I will tell you soon why dreams are no longer meaningless fragments, but sacred messages, opening the gate to the destiny meant for you. Not everyone is called to go. Not everyone can hear the soft, powerful whisper of God. But you can. And you know it. Because if not, you wouldn't still be here, quietly listening to the final moments of this video, with eyes that sting a little and a heart slowly opening. God doesn't call everyone out of their families. He only calls those carrying a light too big to stay trapped in old patterns. And if you are here, amidst conflict, silence, and tears no one knows about, maybe you are the first link He has chosen to begin again. To begin a new family, to begin a new model of love, not based on control, power, or lineage, but based on seeing the soul in one another and loving it for what it is. No one leaves without carrying some pain, but the pain of walking away for the light is always sacred. You are not betraying anyone. You are nodding to a truth your ancestors never dared to face. And you have chosen courage. Leave one final line, not for me, but for yourself. As a small door you open today, I have heard the call and I am stepping out. I once wrote down one sentence and it changed my entire soul's journey. What about you? Remember, no one walks alone when they walk in the light. You may not see him, but every step you take has invisible footprints beside it. And if you feel something deep inside you is shifting, then don't step back. Because when God calls, you don't need to see the whole path. You just need to take one step. If you're still listening, you already have the courage not to look back. And only the souls brave enough to face the truth make it here. I know your soul has begun to open, and I want to offer you my deepest gratitude for facing the truth and choosing to walk toward the light. If this video touched your heart, please like, share, and comment. not just to spread the message, but to connect the souls who are also awakening, just like you. Write just one line. I have heard the call, and let the universe see that you are ready to walk out of the darkness without needing anyone to guide you. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, because the next videos are not entertainment, they are timely light for your journey. See you soon, in the place where souls are understood and light is never dimmed again. You are worthy, and the light is waiting.